Last year I released a video showing you how I'd created this custom Halo Reach Magnum, and I said in that video I was generally very pleased with it. However, there were a few aspects of the build process and the overall design that I wasn't 100% happy with, so I decided to have another go. One thing I mentioned in the video is that I wanted to improve the part usage for the front part of the build. I wanted to use less parts but better parts to make that section of the build stronger and easier to build. A small detail that I added since this build was a safety on the actual handle of the gun. Obviously that was straightforward, as you can see here, but the main part of the build that I wasn't happy with was the back section, this section where I've got these jumper plates stacked up to give that sloped detail effect. I wasn't really happy with any of this area of the build, so I really wanted to have another bash at this. So with all that in mind, I stripped this bad boy down so I could use it as instructions and went about trying to make a better, more improved version 2 of my Reach Magnum. But this time I thought, why not make it green? And this is what it looks like. Pretty nice, huh? Now, if you're thinking it just looks the same but it's green, I can assure you there are a number of differences between the builds, which we'll go through now. So first of all, structurally and internally, I didn't actually have to change as much as I thought I would. I did make some changes which definitely make the build stronger internally, and it just holds together better, but it's more externally most of the changes have been made, especially at the back end of the gun. And the best way to show you those changes is with a side-by-side comparison. So taking each of the guns in hand, you can see straight away from the back of the gun it's obviously different. There's a number of different parts used here. All of this is in the name of trying to make it more game accurate. It was really difficult when you're dealing with this size. It's really hard to get all the details in there, but the main thing I was going for, you can see on the silver gun it's square at the back end, and on the green one it's sloped on the back end. That's what the rebuild was trying to achieve. When you look from above, the detailing's different. Again, apologies for the difference in grey pieces. I just didn't have enough of the same colour. They're also not that different in lengths. It looked a bit different in length there. I wasn't holding it in the right place. It's about a tile shorter, the green one, than the silver one. But aside from that, they're pretty much the same size in length. So as you can see side by side, they've got the same detailing, but they're just a different design. If you move to the front of the gun, you can see a few subtle changes here. So first of all, the red dot on the silver one was a black stud with one of those red circular pieces around it. I swapped it out for a red stud on the green weapon with a black surround around it, which I just felt suited the green better. I did try it the other way around, didn't look as good. And then higher up on the barrel of the gun, as you can see, I used that square silver piece, whereas on the green one, they don't make those pieces in green. So I used just a green jumper plate with, again, a silver surround on it, which once again, I just thought looked better. And then moving to the front of the gun, as you can see, I actually added a yellow light because the bit underneath is a torch for the gun. I didn't add a light to the silver one. I didn't think it looked right. I also changed the bits that hold those tubes protruding out. You can see on the silver gun, it's got hollowed 1x2 bricks with a circle in the middle, and then on the green one I used solid bricks. Again, I just felt it looked a little bit better than on the silver one. Aside from that, the front of the guns are pretty much the same apart from their colour. So overall, I don't dislike either of these designs. I think I do prefer the green version, so I will be modifying the silver one to match the green one at the back end. The front end I'll leave as it is probably, but the back end I want to modify to match the back end of the green gun. The internal side of it I've already changed on the silver one when I was making the green one. So making this Magnum in green really made me want to make Magnums in other colours, but unfortunately they don't make this specific combination of parts to create the body of the gun in any other colour. Well, not that I could see anyway, not in my parts inventory. But what I was able to do was change the colour of the stripe on the barrel of the gun, which surprisingly makes a huge difference to both of these builds. Thankfully, this is a super easy process that only takes a couple of minutes to complete. That involves removing just a small handful of parts. I wanted to actually create some other colours as well for this video, but the more I looked into it, the more I realised these parts don't exist in many colours at all. In fact, I think the only other colour I know for a fact I could have replaced this stripe for would have been a black stripe, which probably would have looked pretty nice in all fairness. I just didn't get around to doing it, so apologies for that. Maybe you'll see that in a later video. But as you can see, just swapping this white stripe out for the grey stripe completely changes the look of the gun. I'm sure some people will prefer the white and some people will prefer the grey, but that's the point of showing you. It's really easy to customize these builds to your specific taste. And in case you were wondering, this is what it looks like if we swap out the white stripe on the silver gun. And once again, I think it looks just as nice with the grey stripe as it did the white stripe. I think it's going to come down to personal taste. And on the silver gun, I think the black stripe possibly would look really nice too. So all I need to do at some point now is modify the back of the silver gun to match the design of the back of the green gun. And I'll have my two custom Magnums just as I want them. Although I do envision myself making another silver version identical to the revised version of the silver one that I will eventually have, just so I can dual wield twin silver Magnums. I think that's got to be done, and I think I've got the parts to make another silver one, so I'm almost certainly going to do that at some point in the future. Another thing I mentioned in that previous video, the original video, was I said I'd show you some comparisons. I never did that, so here we go. As you can see, we've got the other weapons, the official weapons produced by Mega. We've got the Needler, the Energy Sword, and then my two custom Magnums. And if we have them in hand, you can see side by side, obviously Energy Sword is absolutely massive. The Needler is also pretty huge, but the Needler is a big weapon in lore, so I guess it all makes sense, and I think they scale together relatively well. So I just wanted to show you one more thing before you guys clear off for yet another week. On another previous video from last year, I created this custom Oni Warthog, which I was really pleased with, and I mentioned in that video that I wanted to try and do some reskins of this set as well. So I did manage to do that. As you can see, I created a blue version, or a blue and black two-tone version. It was actually quite hard finding the parts in any specific color to redo this, and ultimately it was the blue that I went for. I'm really pleased with it. I've kept it. You've probably seen it on the shelf, or you will see it on the shelf in the background of some of my future videos. I did have to modify the design slightly because I didn't have another set of those axles from the dual mode Warthog. So I made a few subtle differences and also made some differences to the roof. But aside from that, it's pretty similar. Just looks like a different variant of the same build. So a slightly shorter video this week. Hopefully you still enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave your like before you go. And if you've got any thoughts or feedback, make sure you put that in the comments section for me. I do enjoy reading your feedback. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.